He made some news on Twitter. He's the former president of the Miami Marlins.
I'm a big fan of David. Let me get in here because I'm a big fan of David.
Let me get his
David
intro
does
right. Let me get his
great
intro.
job on his podcast.
Let's not railroad. Lebitard show. Him and Jeff Passan had some words on Twitter. And you know what? I respect David because he stood up for himself. I do. But you know what, David? Bonte Hill, Joe Shaskin, the Butcher, Morning Roast, 95.7 The Game, Bay Area, big-time Giants fans. I'm not going to lie to you, David. It's tough for me to talk baseball right now. I really don't want to. Because I'm disappointed that we're at this point again, David. And good morning to you.
And good morning. But if you listen to Nothing Personal, that podcast, then you wouldn't be disappointed because you'd know that this day was coming because I've been talking about it for years, literally. So I think that from a fan's perspective, it's like believing that Christmas isn't coming and then all of a sudden it's December 25th and you haven't bought your gifts yet. Well, you knew it was coming, so you just weren't prepared for it.
Yep.
There's been this sort of rancor between the players and management going on 5 years now, and neither side thought that missing games was going to be the end of the world, and that's why games are being missed.
Yeah, and David, I was listening to you, and you were saying, hey, look, guys, the owners know that they've had 60 games in the back pocket and can still get paid. Like, that's the line of demarcation in terms of trying to get a deal done. Like, that point, not opening day. Opening day is just the front end of a 5, 10, 15-year deal, so, it's crumbs on the big-time pie, and I agree with that sentiment. But, David, something that I saw on the internet, and my cousin's a CPA, he said something similar to what you were saying, where this profit margin loss sheet came out for the Atlanta Braves, and everybody lost their minds because, the Atlanta Braves made $100 million. And I'm like, well, if you look between the lines here, there's a lot of things missing, number one. And number two, that's not a lot of money percentage-wise to make for a good business. So break down kind of the profit margin loss sheet that you tweeted and tried to come at Jeff Passan over.
Well, I just think that it's important for people to talk about what they understand, and he's just never run a team before. He's never run a business before. So let's bring it really into the realm of ease, and let's talk about you. And when you get paid, let's pretend that you're paid $50,000 a year. And the question is, can you go buy something for $50,000? And you say, no, I can't afford that. I don't have the $50,000. And you say, why not? And the answer is because you have expenses, and you pay taxes. So your salary is not what your take-home is. Mm-hmm. Now, let's pretend you live in a house. The house is worth $200,000. And then all of a sudden the market gets so good that the house is now worth $1 million. Oh, my God, I'm a millionaire. I'm rich. Well, we have to fix the heating. Where do we get the cash from? Well, the house is worth $1 million. Don't we have that money? No, it's on paper,
yes.
Dodo bird. So it is important to understand cash, not value. And everyone says teams are worth billions of dollars, therefore owners are rich and they can lose money every year. But that money has to come from somewhere.
My guy over here, he's loving you right now because he's pro-owner. But
no, I'm
you know
pro-business.
what? I get your pro-business. But you know what, David? As a fan, I'm watching these owners charge us $50 for parking. I'm watching these owners charge us $15 for a beer. I'm watching these owners charge us $10 for a hot dog. Where's the consumer playing this? I get the player-owner perspective, but what about the consumer who's trying to watch games and support your games and go to the game 6 times a week? What about the consumer here in the equation?
Do you get upset when you see that there's a Ritz-Carlton that has a room for $550 a night versus a Holiday Inn Express that has a room for $70 a night?
No, I don't say it the Holiday Inn. I'm a little more classier than that. I'm a little more classier than that.
I'm
a little more classier than that, David. I'm a little more classier than that. I'll go to a Marriott or a Hilton for about $200 a night.
He just went down to San Diego and had a great trip. Keep going. I love this analogy.
You understand I'm making an example. So I understand that parking is expensive, and I understand that beers are expensive, and I understand the reason why, because I was in charge of setting prices at concession stands. And when you've got an audience of people who have already walked in your door, how come movie candy is so much darn money, or food at the airport when you buy candy at the airport?
Well, David, if you were like me, you were sneaking candy into the movie theater. That's all we did. We were sneaking it in there.
Of course I do that, and that's why we've got people checking for people like you. But at the end of the day, when you've got a captive audience, obviously you've got a greater opportunity to charge more money. However, There are people who can't afford the Ritz-Carlton, so they stay at the Holiday Inn, and that's how it goes. There's people where tickets are too expensive. I get it. On the other hand, if you're paying attention on StubHub or you're a season ticket holder, your price of entry to even the greatest ballpark that's the most sold out can be $5 on a random Wednesday.
It's true.
There are ways that you can see a game in person, and just don't buy the $50 beer or the $15 beer and the $50 parking spot. Take public transportation, especially, in the Bay Area. I've never driven to one of your games, and I've been to dozens of them.
You tweeted out yesterday, David, and we have David Samson on, the former president of the Miami Marlins, of course, and he's on the Lebertar Podcast Networks, of course, has his own podcast as well. You tweeted out yesterday in response to MLB's final and best offer that the offer represented a clear victory for the players. Why do you feel that deal was a clear win for the players, and why do you think the players still turned it down?
Because as president of the Marlins, and I was the president of a baseball team for 18 seasons, and always a small market team. Now, granted, in 2003, we beat the big bad Giants, and I remember that very well.
Yvonne Rodriguez,
Jose
JT Snow.
Jose Cruz Jr., yeah, we remember.
First of all, he was such a good right fielder. I can't believe he dropped that ball, but I can't believe that Conine didn't end up on second base. But anyway, we could talk about that all day. But all I can tell you is this. I can't remember the question.
Basically, why you tweeted out yesterday here. I'll repeat the question, David, because we're flashing back.
I know.
Now,
we go back
now
to that
thinking
team.
about JT
we
Snow.
went wire to wire and lost to the Marlins, and we were furious.
Dude, hey, I just can't believe JT Snow took the widest turn around third base. The widest.
Jeffrey
and he gets
Hammond.
thrown out.
Oh, my
gosh.
How could you not be wondering why JT Snow was not being pinch run for? I tweeted that the other week. Only people in San Francisco focused on it. When that roster came out in 2003 for the National League Wild Card Series, the Division Series, Larry Beinfest was our GM at the time, and he said, wait a minute, this roster's wrong. They have too many pitchers.
Yeah.
They do not have enough bench players. Now, we never knew that the series could end because JT Snow was on second base, and there was a single to left field that was short, and Jeff Conine fielded it perfectly and threw the ball to Pudge Rodriguez. You wouldn't have known that, but we did say while watching the game at that time, back in 2003, he's going to get thrown out if he tries to score in a single, and it ended up happening.
Wow, that game made me sick. I remember I left my house when it was 5-0. I left and came back, bought a cell phone, the Metro PCS, came back, my little cousin was like, Bonte, the Giants came back and tied it. I said, get me in the house. What's going on? And then Felix Rodriguez gave up 2 runs right away.
Oh, my God, Felix.
And then back to the question. You tweeted out yesterday in response to MLB's final best offer that the offer represented a clear victory for the players.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that deal was a clear win for the players, and why do you think the players still turned it down?
So as president of the Marlins for all those years, we were always a small market, low revenue. And I thought the deal that was offered to the players was too advantageous to the higher revenue teams and would cause me to be at an even greater competitive disadvantage. I care about the minimum salary because I have so many players on my team who we pay the minimum. So when you increase that by $200,000, and I've got 10 players at the minimum, my payroll just went up $2 million, and I didn't get better. And with the CBT, if those thresholds and the penalties are not high enough and low enough, right, I want lower thresholds and higher penalties. That's what I want as a small market team. I want the Mets to be penalized so much for what they're doing because I have to compete with them to win a division. So the deal that was offered to the players, in my opinion, was not a good deal for small market teams, and I would have voted no to that deal.
Wow, interesting. Hey, David, we got to have you on more often, number one. That's number one, because I just love that you're laying it down, because you're giving us the executive point of view, but the business point of view. My family owns a small family business, and so everybody hates business for some reason, and I always like you know how many small-run family businesses
we don't hate
are
business.
Out there?
We hate greedy owners.
No, but I don't think that it's about profit margins and sustaining the business model so that there is business long term. Like, it's more than that. Yes, people are trying to squeeze a dollar. We know that. But David, before you get on out of here, I got to ask you about Derek Jeter, because my opinion of Derek Jeter has been enhanced by what you've said, because I've thought Derek Jeter's been a fraud for 20 years. I can't stand Derek Jeter. Explain to the San Francisco audience what went down with the Marlins and Derek Jeter being the face and now bailing out on the Marlins situation.
Well, I don't know how much time you have, but just say he didn't bow out. I would say he's got the best PR help in the history of sports. with the way people view him as being perfect, and I give him credit for that. I can only tell you that there's a lot more going on than what you get to see publicly, and he did not just bow out. No one bows out on February 28th before a season is going to start. He was let go because he could not run a team properly, and the team was not making money at all. It was not hitting its revenue goals at all. And I would also say about your radio station, when you think that owners are greedy, every single business that you know of,
thank you,
they are trying to raise revenue and lower expenses. If your general manager of your radio station for 1 second thought that he could have someone else in your chair who would get the same ratings and be as entertaining and bring in as much money and pay them less than they pay you, you'd be gone in 2 seconds flat.
That's how we got the job, David.
Well, speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. No, David, we're gonna have you back on here because there's
personal.
a lot.
Subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have you back on because we could talk all day long about it. And even though I disagree, you're a great guest, and I appreciate your opinion. I do appreciate it, man. We'll continue to follow you on Twitter. I appreciate the insight as a former president.
Yeah.
You're inside the ownership group there, so keep doing your great work, man. We're gonna talk soon. Trust me.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I love your city. I love your show, and I'd be happy to be on any time. Have a great day.
I love
you
it.
too. David Samson here on the Morning Roast.